Kwan Phonghanyudh. She's a service, welcome. She's a service designer and also a design researcher. We all have an idea about service design and what it might entail, but I think after listening to the conversation in the coming 45 minutes, probably we'll have a different view. And of course, that's what this webinar is all about. Kwan will be introducing the 5 principles of service design thinking and how this can also be applied in your company, in your service, let's say, environment, and ultimately how to improve your service level, because that's the reason why I think we're here, to learn something. Then, of course, this is also about service design processes and how that will be applied in your companies. And she will share some of the best practices during this 30-40 minutes upcoming as well. I would like to give a bit of a bio. I'm hoping that you have read her bio already, but I'll take some highlights of Kwan with a PhD at the Royal College of Arts in London. And before that, she has a Bachelor in Industrial Design from Chulalongkorn University and the Masters of Integrated Design from the Cologne International School of Design in Germany. So quite international as well. She's giving quite some guest speaking opportunities. So she's very familiar in talking to larger and smaller crowds. We have now a group of 12, but I think there will be some more participants joining us later, Kwan. And we kindly ask you to mute yourself. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be watching the chat and I will be moderating that also. And please, after 30-40 minutes after Kwan's presentation, we will deep dive into these questions and we'll try to make that interactive part as well. But thank you all for joining. And Kwan, if you are ready, we are ready. And we're very eager to listen to what you have to say about service design in the digital age.
Thank you very much, and also thank you NTCC for having me today. It's been a pleasure, and I think you guys can tell that I'm very excited. I get to speak often, but not in English, so please apologize if I've made some mistake. Yeah, so I think Khun has been explaining so well about my biography. So let's skip that part. Let's begin with the question. So in your opinion, which brand has a good service? And can you please give a reason why? So every time whenever I begin my workshop or presentations, I always start with these questions. So you guys could think or reflect on what you like and why you like the brand. It doesn't have to be this brand that was listed here. It could be anything. And whenever I ask these questions, most of the people would answer. Sometimes they would say 7-Elevens because all the branches have the standards. They sometimes say Airbnb because it provided them with the experience that they have never had before with the hotels, or they like Grab because Grab enabled them to eat this, like, even though they don't have to drive outside. For example, some say Starbucks because they understand the users that they're in a hurry and need for coffee. So they have this drive-through and this application. Some might say they like Uniqlo because of this atmosphere of the shops, the brighting shops, and a wide varieties of products. And sometimes they say the staffs are very friendly. Whenever they raise their hands or they feel that there's a problem, people always come in and help out. All these little things, all of these little things that the service providers are doing, giving a good experience to the customers. But then all these little things is designed. So today we were talking about how is this service is designed from the design approach. So in my master, I did this integrated design by focusing on the experience in the hospitals. And then I'm doing this service. It's the first time that I heard about the service design. It's a field of design that focuses on designing a service, but what it actually is. So this is the definitions that I have from Nick de Leon. He's the Dean of the Service Design Programs in Royal College of Art. He said that service design is to envisage and then enable a holistic and seamless user experience and create new levels of values, not only for recipients, but all the stakeholders involved. When I read these definitions, I feel that it's really explained something to me, what a service design is. So because service is something intangible, what you design is an experience, but then it's not only for the customers, it's also for the service provider. For example, the staff, the manager, they also have to have a good experience also in working in that place or providing a service. Therefore, it's a creation of levels of values for everyone that's involved. I think it's very, when I like these definitions, but I think it's a bit more complex. So I find the other one, and I think it's maybe more simple and more straightforward. So a well-designed service for the user must be useful, usable, and desirable for them. And then for the service provider, you have to provide with, you have to be more effective, efficient, and distinctive. So with the new service, you are differentiate yourself from other people or the competitor and other in the market. So these are little things like if you're having your service or if you're in a service industry, you may ask yourself, does your service provide this value to the stakeholders? And one thing that I always tell people when they're doing a service design is that a service is the moments that the user interact with the service provider is it's a co-creations of values. So don't forget that if you're a service provider, you propose a value to a user, right? So this is your value propositions. I think people are used to these words, especially in business model canvas. They're like, oh, this is my value propositions. But the value proposition means nothing without the user. So at moments when the interaction happens, that's the co-creations of values. So don't forget the users in your equations. So that's a very important thing to take away from this. Yeah, that's the beginnings of what a service design is. So then from this design approach, the service design can be used to develop an entirely new service or improve an existing service. If you are a startups company, you wanted to be a millionaire, I think that's like something for some people. You can use a service design principle or approach that I'll be sharing today to develop entirely new service. Or if you are already in a service industry, you can use this approach today to improve existing service. Most of the time, you can make it more, make them more efficient by simplifying a number of operations, eliminate steps in process, digitizing some components, or transferring responsibilities and initiative to citizens. That's something like mostly from the public service perspective. And I think it's also happened to me, like when I flew back from London from Heathrow Airport, I remember that I have to print out my boarding pass by myself. That's one thing that I was thinking, like, oh my God, I'm flying Thai Airways. It's not even a low cost, and I have to do everything by myself. So the first time the staff, they introduced me how to do it, and then when I did it, I feel like, oh my God, I'm in control of my destiny and my luggage. Whenever I arrive in Bangkok, my luggage will be waiting for me. So that's kind of things that if you are transferring a responsibility to your customers, you have to think about, like, then what are the value that they could get from doing this work instead of you. But I think that's it. It's one thing, this direction is the directions that a lot of companies are moving towards, because you can lower the number of staff and it could be faster also for the customers. That's are two things that you can do when you're designing a service. Just some case studies. So for develop an entirely new service, one of them is Airbnb. For those of you who are not familiar with Airbnb, it is an alternative residence for those who are traveling in the city or outside. It's the business starts from 3 designers. Because I think California at that time the hotel was overbooked, so they decided, oh, let's do some bed and breakfast, and that air, bed, and breakfast, that the word Airbnb comes. But the things that differentiate itself from the rest is the opportunity for the customers to choose between different alternatives, and also for service provider, for those that have an available asset. So I think that's the kind of thing that I mean when you design a new service, that all the stakeholders need to win, or the value was created for everyone. So this is the designing a new service. But you can also use service design to improve an existing service. In this case, it's an MK Suki, it's a hot pot restaurant. For those of you who are not in Thailand, it's one of like a family, like one place to go with your family and friends. So this hot pot. The one thing that I like about this hot pot is, even though now a lot of different style like Taiwanese hot pot is becoming more popular in Thailand, but this brand is still stay. The reason is that they keep improving their service. From this picture I showing you, they're changing their queuing system from receiving a queuing paper, now they're doing electronically. And then when you sit seating and then you want to order something, now they're having this tablet. So you can order it from the tablet and not have to wait for the waitress to come. I always ask people, do you like this tablet or not? Some people say they like it because they didn't want to talk to the waitress and they feel pressure when they didn't know what to eat, and the pressure and the waitress is waiting for them, that kind of thing. But then some people didn't like it because it's too complicated. The interface may be not as good as ordering from the people. Some mistake could happen. It happened to me once that I ordered something. I wanted to eat a set of a pork, but then I ordered a seafood. I ordered the wrong thing. And then they have a receipt, and then the waitress carried this plate of seafood to me. And I was like, what should I do? Should I just like eat it because it's my fault? Or should I just raise my hand and say, oh, no, I wanted the pork. And that's what I did. I raised my hand and I said, I'm sorry, I wanted to eat something else. And then what she did was like, okay, I'll take this away and I bring what you want back to you. So these are one things that could be that you guys, anyone could consider, is that if you transfer the responsibility to the customers, you have to think about these rooms of trial and error, because the customer didn't perform the job all the time. It's not regularly. It's not a thing that they do all the time. So mistake sometimes happen. But then how would you fix that? So I think that's also one thing that you could think of. And then the other thing is, because now a lot of people are eating this hot pot by themselves. So, but then how could you make the experience of eating by yourself similar to eating with other people? So they're creating this pot with 2 soup, so that you don't have to, okay, you by yourself, you have no choice, not like that. So you still have this choice of 2 soup, you still have the set that you want, but then in smaller size, which I think it's very thoughtful, but I haven't tried that yet. So any of you that have tried this hot pot, just maybe write down in the chat so that we can talk about it. But this is one of my favorite restaurants because it keeps improving. And one thing that is very beneficial from doing the service design is the visualization tools. So one of them is called Service Blueprint. This is my favorite tools because it's allowed me to visualize the whole service system. So I'm very sorry that's still in Thai, but let me explain what it is. So for the user actions, the role explains the actions of the user. So for example, the customer walk in front of the store, the customer tell the staff how many people there are, they collected the queuing number, things like that. But it's also showing the interactions of the front of stage staff. So what is happening between the user and the staff. In some cases, it might not be a people, it might be a robot, it might be some service through the machine. That could be the front of stage interactions. So it was separated with this line of interactions, which connected the user and the staff together. And with this, with this thick line, this line of visibilities that divided the user out of sight. So what is happening is what the user didn't see will happen below this line. So this is the back of stage interaction. So you can, it's so simple is that the customer tells the staff in the front that, oh, I'm coming with 8 people. So the staff will have to contact the people in the restaurant and say like, okay, 8 customers are coming. So the staffs are then preparing the tables, and then when the table's ready, they are calling back and say, okay, it's ready. The number is this one, and then the customers are coming in. And then with this is provided, if you need any process to support or any system to support, you can also write it down. And one thing that I really like the most is the physical evidence, which is also a touch point. So in each steps of the user actions, the physical evidence or this touch point will tell you what are the tangible thing that the users see. So because service design, you design the experience, and the experience is intangible. So you have to somehow turn it into something that you can design. For example, when the customer walk in, how do they know that they arrived at your shops already or your restaurants already? You have to have this big sign. You have to have this identity of your shop right in front. So then you know that, oh, this is what I have to do. So the staffs are the first person who interact with the customers. Then how do I design the staff or the uniforms or the way they talk, the tone of voice, things like that. So this blueprint is what is, for me, I think it's a very good visualizing tools so that you can also understand like each steps of your customers, and then what you can design, how many staff you need, what are the interactions or supporting systems that you have to be prepared before you open your new service. So this is just an introduction. So let me move forward. Some people say, okay, then service design, you just design a service, right? But actually you can design so many things. So which the service design thinking or principle and the process, you can also first design the interactions. For example, then with this design for interactions, now you want it, before you withdraw the cash with the cards, but now you don't want to use the card. It's cardless and you use your mobile phone instead. So then what is the interaction look like? So with service design, you can also design that too. You can, if you are the member, if you're using a lot of bank, you can tell that they have different systems of doing this cashless, cardless withdrawal. Cashless is me. Okay, anyway. So then besides designing for interactions, you can also design for service. You can design the entirely new service, as I mentioned earlier. This picture is from the service that's called You Drink and I Drive. So it happened because of whenever you drive a car and you didn't plan that you're going to drink, but then you end up drinking, then how would you drive home safely? So the service enable you to call for a driver, and a driver would arrive at the scenes, and then he would come with this blue suit and with the bottle of water and all of this napkin, I don't know what it's called. Yeah, and then he will greet you. And I think that's that, and then he would give you a ride home. So when I first heard of this service, I feel so insecure. It's like, oh my God, I'm a woman and I'm drunk, and he knows he has my car, he knows where I live, he could rob me right away. So that's kind of thing that if you are designing this service experience, or you have to really concerns about the trust. It's like how you could create trust for your customers, because they are buying the experience, right? So for this case, you are buying your safety. So how could they trust you? So for this service, you can check on the website. They mentioned on the websites that every driver was background checked already, and he would have this Bluetooth stick to his ear, so that the call center could keep track of him, so that they know that he was driving you home safely. So that's one thing. And one thing that I really like about this service is that they're making this ritual, yes. Something that you think it's, oh, when you see the guy with blue suit, you know You know it's them, you know it's him, he's waiting for you. Just like when you walk in a lot of Japanese restaurants in Thailand. I think it's so funny when you walk in and people greet you with like Japanese word and they bow to you like that. It's like, Ishimasen, for example. But that's the rituals that they're creating. It's a traditions, or it's make believe, and then it makes you believe that, okay, you're entering something authentic Japanese or things like that. So that's how things that service design could create. You could also use the principle to design for system. For example, this MK Suki, the hot pot suki that I'm telling you, because they have a lot of branches and they didn't want to stock a lot of products at their stores. Therefore, they have this central kitchen. But then the central kitchen has to prepare, has to doing the stock, they have also distributed to all the branches. So to design all this, you have to have the service design to design the service also, the system also. And then besides that, you could also use service design to design policy or strategies for your company. Why is that so important? In the UK, you have this policy lab. They're working with a lot of ministry, because a lot of time that the policy didn't really talk to the people, but service designer could help, or the service design process could help you understand the real needs of the people, and therefore using the policies, enacting the policies in a way that would really benefit them. Yeah, I'm telling how good service design is. So you guys get very excited. So to know how you, then what are the principles? What are the processes? So let me bring you to this principle of service design thinking. Because maybe service design is not complex at all. People ask me, oh, do you really have to train to be a service designer? But for me, I think everybody could design your service, especially those that work in service industry, because you know your customers, you know your systems. Then it's so easy. You just need to have a logic. And this 5 principle could maybe give you some ideas of then how you could move forward. So how you can improve your service. The first one is user center. User center. All the time when people talk about design thinking, they say user center. It's customer centric. But for me, I would say for service design, you're not only thinking about user center or customers, but you also have to think about your staff. So as I mentioned earlier, a good service has to be benefit to customers and also staff. Staff have to be happy too when they provide a service to customers, and also the customer has to be happy. But then when you're thinking about customers, people saying all the time that, okay, we have to know who they are. What are their personas? Like, oh, what is the target groups? What are the personas? So today I'm introducing the word persona. So it's very, like, I think it's very, if you're from the marketing field, I think it's widely used there. But then in this case, so persona is the made up people that representing a group of people. For example, if you're interviewing 20 people, you might divide it or segment it people in three groups, but not based on their age, not based on their gender, not based on their income, but instead you based on their behavior and attitude towards your service. For example, if you're eating buffet, so if you're like, okay, if you think about the persona who like to eat buffet, you can tell that there might be one personas that like to eat buffet because they like to have this wide variety of food, a wide selection. That could be one persona, that behavior. Another persona could be a group of university students that wanted to know the exact amounts of payment that they have to pay. Because most of the time, if you're eating buffet, you know that it's like 199 net. Oh, so the kids, the university kids, they know that, okay, it will not exceed this level. So they can eat whatever and enjoy as much as they want, and then within this limit amounts of money. And it could be another people who just want to eat a lot like me. Like I wanted to go to buffet because I want to eat a lot. That could be one thing. Or other people who just enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the atmosphere of having a lot of people, of walking around while eating and discussing about food, things like that. So this different behavior, you can categorize it into different persona. For example, like this guy, this guy. And this persona is very important to create the personas. These are simple tools that I would like recommend. So one persona, it must be, you have to know the persona like he is your friend, like Facebook friends, like what is his name, what is his age, what is he explaining about eating buffet, for example. I like buffet very much because I could eat a lot, like I have never eaten before, for example, things like that. And then what are this demographic, how old is he has a family, he always go with friends or not, what is his job, what is his pain point when eating, or what does it need, what is a potential solution. These are samples of templates to explain each persona. People often ask me, how many persona could you have for one business? And they say not more than 8, because if it's more than 8, it's become not too distinct. It become a little bit blurry, and then maybe it's not too extreme. And then you do not know you create for which persona. Imagine you have 20 persona. It's too complicated to communicate within the team. So keep 4 to 8, I think it's a good number. You have a lot of persona because maybe your business are targeted a lot of different types of people. And then the second principle, we have the first one is user-centered, right? The second one is co-creative. I love this one because I know that a lot of time, especially me, that I always have this designer backgrounds, my visions or the thing I know is very narrow. So it's always good to work with other people, especially when you are doing a service or working in a service industry. You have to talk to people from different business units so you understand it. If you remember that blueprint that I showed you, so you have to talk to other people to fill in that blueprint, to know what happened backstage. So that is very important. So in this co-creative, it means that you're working with a variety of people. In the slides, I'm showing the case that the projects that I'm working with TCDC, a Thailand Creative and Design Center, to transform Southern Group into a creative district. So we did a workshops and we invited every stakeholders. So for example, students, designer, local people, the entrepreneur, a landlord. So they all could give an input. So whenever we have the ideas, everybody agree on it. Or if they have to say something, they could say it right away. It's very effective, efficient way of doing, but workshop may be a little bit complicated to organize, but I know you guys can do it. And the other cases that I would show you is the workshops that I did with hospitals. So because the hospital are public hospitals, most of the time they have a lot of problems. So they decided to redesign the service. But first they invited a lot of people to join the workshop, to brainstorm what are the problems, what are challenges, and what should be solutions, what should be like how they should do it. So they invited doctor, nurses, and administrative staff, which involved a lot, especially in terms of rights that people have, and also a security guard, because they are the first person who see your customers. He knows right away if you have problems. Like whenever you drive into these public hospitals, it's always difficult to locate the buildings, to know where is the gate, where could you park, is it one way or not. So the security guard is the first one who meet the customers. Therefore, he's very important, and his insight is very important. Therefore, you have to invite everyone on this co-creative process. It doesn't have to be in the form of workshops. You can just interview them or anything, but make sure you do not leave anybody behind on the design of the service. And then to identify who you should invite it, this tools is called a stakeholder mapping. For example, this in this slide is a galleries. So those that are very close have a lot of influence, like higher level of influence, will be closer into the inner level, in the inner circles, and then the further is like less important. For example, in terms of galleries, those that very highly influence is the visitors, as the groups, and the tourists, and then institution is not really influence. But if you map this out first, you know who you should invite, and you can also map the relationship between one another. So you understand the ecosystem of your service. And with this stakeholder mapping, you could then use to identify the opportunities or the potentials also, or the challenge that you are facing today. Maybe your supplier didn't work well with this person. How did you fix these problems? This could be one thing that you find out from using a stakeholder mapping. So these are simple templates that you can try. People often ask me, what should I put in the middle of the circles? You can either put your company in the middle. You can put the name of the service, the new service in the middle. So you can put your personas in the middle. If you're redesigning for your business unit, you can put the business unit in the middle. It doesn't matter. It's just the tools that you can feel free to improvise it as you like. Yeah. So that's another choice. So here comes the third principle, which is called sequencing. See, because service is something that's an experience, right? It's long and you have a long experience. Then what you have to do to design it is to break it down as small as possible into a little sequence. So this picture is a service of those that wanted to travel. So first, he reads the books and he dreams of traveling. He went to agency, he read review. And then what I like most is number 5. It's a right top corner. It's like he dreams about his trips while working. It's like these copy machines and you dream about your beaches. So these are little sequencings that people are doing. Why do you have to break it down? So because when you break it down, you find the opportunities. You see the problem in each steps, and then you find the opportunity to intervene. Maybe the dreaming has a problem, or maybe the packing. Some people has a problem when they have to pack luggages. They do not like it. So maybe you can create a service that help them pack their luggage or make it simple. This could be an opportunity. One thing that's very important that I really wanted to share is that most of the people who are doing a service, they only concerns about during, like while they're providing a service. For example, in the restaurants, you only think about, okay, your atmosphere in the restaurant, how your menus, and then your lighting, the songs that you're playing, which is very good. But you should also think about that pre-service before they arrive at the restaurants. Like how do you entice them? How do you create an awareness that your restaurant exists? How do you create drive so that they know that, oh, I really wanted to come to the restaurants. So when they enter, especially when you have this physical service, offline service, the moment that people enter your store is very important. How you make it memorable, and then how you engage them throughout. And then when they exit, what happened when they exit, right? And then how can you, even they leave your service, when they left, how can you extend the experience and create drive to review and spread the word? This is very important because the post-service of one person could be a pre-service. Imagine this person posts about your service on a Facebook, and then one could see it, and then might be create a drive for them to come and try your service. This is a graph because the service design was influenced by drama also, and a lot of was influenced by business field, by drama, by other design field. And one of them is this graph. This graph was taken by drama theory, like how you tell a stories. Imagine this is a James Bond film, and this is what happened. So when you heard about the film, the movie, you see the trailer, you get so excited. Oh, it's excited. But then when you when you went into the cinema, you start watching. First, when the opening scene, he was running on a train and he was killed and he was drowned. And it's like, oh, is he dying? That's when you enter the movie. And then the stories begin, right? You have to have, your customer has to have some moment to calm down, right? And then, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, the story is like this. This is his mission. This is his girls, this episode, blah, 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 until the big fight at the very end. Then you like getting so excited, so surprised, and then you exit the service longing for the next episode, the next James Bond, when will it come, when it arrive. This is exactly how you should plan your service. But this is for me, I think this is too ideal. So if you can also design your own graph, when like how you like your customers to feel or experience your service. It doesn't have to be like this. These are just like examples of ideas how it should be, but I think it depends. I think it's really totally depends on what types of service. And then you have these tools called customer journey. The customer journey is a little bit similar to blueprint, but it focuses only on the user. For example, you have this activity, the user activity, which is exact same thing. But the touch point is exactly same as the physical evidence, but the heartbeat is important because it shows you when he or she is not happy. So then you can see if the graph is getting very high or very low. So then you can fix each point. And then you can see the problems, interesting point, and opportunities or needs that the person wants. These are just examples of the customer journeys of how people using a library or a design libraries. So you can see like some points is very low, some is high. So if you use, this is a good visualizing tool, so you can see that, okay, this, the point that get the very low score, what should you do, what is happening? And it's telling something. I really like this. This tool is good when you wanted to fix each point or when you want to penetrate it or intervene the experience and then creating a totally new service. You can also do that. Yeah. Customer journey has there are two types of customer journey. One is as is. So you're collecting the data of how they feel or think about your service, existing service. It might be yours or your competitor. But then to be journey is what you wanted to create for them. Like, how would you like them to be? How would you like that service to be? Okay, I think I'm showing you a little case studies from a restaurants, like izakaya restaurants, a Japanese restaurants. So these are some examples of a journey. So then let me read it in English because it's in Thai, I don't know why. Okay, so because during the COVID-19 pandemic, the restaurant is doing the deliveries. So during the end time, the customers see the post on the Facebook page, and then they enter the service by adding the line official accounts. And then they receive a greeting from the shops. They choose the menu that they would like to eat. They order with the customer, with the staff through line, and then they're sending everything. So, and this is customer journey. You do, and then with that, you can elaborate on that, and then it becomes a blueprint. I just want to show this case so that you can see how how the journey is made, and then how you design then a blueprint, and how the two are, the comparison between the two. So the difference is this blueprint, it's also focusing on the staff and also the backstage and the support. But then the customer journey is mainly focused on the customers. I have to stop. Okay, we have user center, we have co-creative, we have sequencing, and then now we have holistic. Holistic, it means that every touch point, all the experience has to be seamless. Therefore, every touch point has to look like they have the same brand identity. Their visualizations has to be the same. It has to have the same color, same typographies, but not only this. In this time of the year, you also have like physical touch point and also online and offline. Therefore, the information has to be linked. So if your customers are entering some informations online already, for example, they book a reservation, they reserved a restaurant, and then when they enter a restaurant, they do not have to do the same thing anymore. They should be taken to the seat right away. That's other examples of how like this seamless experience is created, also with the holistic view. So the examples that I shown you here is from the Olympics in London in 2012. I really like it because they use service design principle to design the spectator experience. They say they're one thing, it's called Brilliant Basic. Brilliant Basic is like they put a lot of efforts in designing the thing, which is a signage, but then people didn't really care. Like people see it and then people walk, but then people didn't really notice it. But if you have done some things wrong with it, people would just started to get lost and a lot of things would happen. So it's basic thing, but it has to be brilliant, like well designed. But then you have this magic moment that you don't really have to design. It's the thing that's, what is it called in English? The thing with the fire when you start this Olympic and you run, that thing. But first I thought it was a cheese grater. It does look like that. Anyway, okay. So this magic moment is also important because you didn't really have to design it well. No, but you just have to create the moment for that. So for your service, you have to have this brilliant service, and you have to have also the magic moment for them to really remember the moments that they enjoy in the service. And then they really thought it through. So while they're waiting, they have this parade, they have the show, you can try out sports, you can learn about sports if you do not know it. And then they have a lot of communication in the mobile phones, emails, pamphlets, and also those that doesn't joining the Olympic or just visiting London at the moment. They also decorated the Tower Bridge in this symbol, Olympic symbol. And one thing I really like is they are partner with Transport for London, and then they're showing the score, the current score, for example, the soccer score, what is happening, who's shooting, because they know that a lot of people might come with a baby and they might have to leave earlier, and then they might miss some parts of the game, but they can continue watching the game while traveling through Transport for London, like with these two undergrounds. The last thing is evidencing. People already forget the first one, right? The last thing is evidencing. The evidencing is important because, as I've mentioned earlier, that service experience is intangible. So you're spending, like before you're buying some products, I buy a chocolate, I get a chocolate. That's one thing I get when you're buying a product. But when you purchase for a service, you get nothing. Right? You get the experience. Then the evidence is just to make sure that you remember the service, or it's just something to tell you about the service. If you're going to the movie, the evidence is the movie tickets, of course. And for tourism industry, like I think Thailand, one of the things that very popular in Thailand is this tourist, and also this during this COVID pandemics, many things happen anyway. So what is the evidence of traveling to Thailand? I often ask this question, and then they would say souvenirs and pictures and things like that. That's all evidencing. So if you go into this, the pictures from Disneyland, of course, you get all the tickets, you get these cups, and then many things that to remember the experience. Evidencing is also one thing that allow the customers to extend their experience with the service. Yeah. So I give 5 principles, right? After the talk, I will have a quiz to see if you guys listening to me. Anyway, that's just a joke. So how did the brand make sure that they have all these 5 things together? Simple example is Starbucks, because I think you all may be a bit familiar with the brand. So first thing is user center. They divided different persona. They have the personas that come and then use Starbucks as a third place. They work there, they have a meeting, they talk, they spend a lot of time in Starbucks. And you also have the personas that maybe really want to drink coffee but cannot come to the store. So he or she ordered through Grab food delivery system. So the user is also the customer that order the coffee and also the people who did picking up the food for you. So how could you provide good service for them? Sometimes they have a people waiting, a foreigner. This is a different user, and then therefore with different user, you have different types of service. And then how do they do the journey? So if you think, well, Starbucks came to Thailand, I think since I was in like a university, which is a long time ago. So it's like, how do I heard of the brand? So how do I get to know the brand? How did the brand entice me, like, create awareness? So maybe I walked past the shops, I heard it from the Facebook, I walked past the standalone shops or something. Maybe my friend, I also have a friend who works at Starbucks. So that's how I know Starbucks. And then what drive me to go to Starbucks? I think it's the seating, and also like the fact that you can sit as long as you want and they don't kick you out. And then, okay, so when you enter the shops, you open it and you smell the coffee, you see these wooden decorations, you can see this big counter and also with menus on it. And the menu, you're familiar with the menu. So that's one thing you get when you're entering the shops. And then they engage you with different things, different types of seating. If you wanted to chat about coffee, you have barista to talk with you. You have this electrical outlet so you could work. You have Wi-Fi for free. You also have food and snacks for you. And then when you exit, it's like maybe you want to bring some Starbucks home. You have these glasses and then teddy bears and then some coffee pre-made. And then to extend that your service, they always invited you to download the applications so that you could receive some message from them. Maybe the new drinks are coming, or the new like 1-to-1, like what is 1-to-1? Buy one get one free campaign is coming. Then you think of the brand again and you return to use the service. That's how you put these five principles into action. Should I go on further or should I stop? I think I should.
Well, another few minutes would be fine. Maybe you can then wrap it up sort of. I think the examples are clear in the 5 principles.
Okay. So maybe just a couple of slides. So one of them is the touch points. So the physical evidence that I've mentioned earlier are the touch point. Touch points are the points of contact between the user and service provider. User may utilize many different touch points as a part of user scenarios. It's different. So those that order it online through delivery will use different touch point. They will use a Starbucks website or applications, but those who walk in will use different touch point. They will order it with their staff. They will get a cup right away. They will see it. They will have a seat and then sit there and work. Blah, blah, blah. Last but not least is the service evidencing. So how do you know that you have a service from Starbucks? You get this receipt, you have the cup. And then for those that have problem with lactose or milk, you order soy milk, you can also check on this receipt if they put it correctly. And they put my names on it. How cute. People love relationship with brand. Customer love to have relationship with brand. Anyway, so let me end with this slide. The service design process. I know it's a lot of things that going on, but sure you can maybe reflect on it. And I think there's a process. How would you do that? The principle is a good start, so you know what you should think about. But then the process is exactly what like the design thinking process. If anybody is used to the design thinking process, this is not new, but it is more, but with the tools that I told you earlier, that's what specifically make for service design. Anyway, so first you have a challenge, then you explore, the stage one is explorations. Explorations, you can tell that it's the mouth is wider. The reason is because you explore and you get a lot of data. So you did a research and you interview, you did observation, you did workshop, you have a lot of data. Then you analyze those data. By analyzing those data, you can use the tools that I've been mentioned earlier. You can use persona, you can use customer journey, you can use blueprint, you can use stakeholder mapping, just to make sure that you capture all the information that you have collected, and you can visualize it so the people who come in, like the people who are working with you, understand the data visually. And then, and this small point here is when you have the new insight and you have the new challenge. So then now you can start to create a lot of ideas. Therefore, this mouth is opening again. So you have a lot of ideas. And then at the end, you prototype the idea. This is very important, especially for people like me who always think that my idea is the best. I always say, oh my God, my idea is so good. But when I test it out, I know that the customer didn't think like me. So most of the idea fail. But when it's failed, it's very good because then you can reiterate it. So this is just a simple, it's called double diamonds, a service design process. But it's not as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you get an innovation. You have this new service, you maybe have to reiterate it so many times to have a perfect service to better meet the customer needs and also the staff needs. I think I would end there. Let's wait for some questions if there is any.
Well, thank you very much, Kwan. I'm sure we will now entering a Starbucks in a different way than before. The way you described.
I should get a commission for that. Yeah, I should get some commission for that. I would ask them that.
The theory behind the service design process and the design thinking. Thank you for sharing those principles with us and also making it, let's say, applicable with some real life examples. So that's always very helpful. Are there any questions from the audience, please? Then there's a moment now to ask.
One from Mark. He asked, what are the most common mistakes companies make when designing their service? I think the most common mistake is they do not really focus on their user. They do not understand their user. Let me explain it from my experience. For example, I have once worked with banking company. So the ideas are coming from top down. It's coming from the CEO. So he has this vision. Oh, let's do this. We are transforming our bank into this digital bank. Let's do this. Some new types of branches without the staff. Let's launch that. But that is not what the customer needs. And then also when you wanted to transform the customer from something very manual, analog, to very digital, Thai people especially are not ready. And then the majority of us are not like even have a mobile phone, or some of the bank users are old people, so they're not ready for that. So the transformation period is still needed. So I would answer this question is that most of the mistake the company make is that they do not know who their user are, and they do not understand their user. And most of the service were designed by the CEO or the manager with the vision of the company, which is good, but the vision has to be rechecked often with the customers also. Okay. What do you have to take into account when implementing the designed service? Okay, what do you have to take into account when implementing the design service? This is very good. So a lot of company, when they launch as a service, they make it big, they make it huge. But for me, I think it's very important to do the pilots or the prototype first. Like you have to try it in a small scale first. And when you try it in the small scales, you have to evaluate it. You have to like test it somehow and then bring back the data so that then you know what you should fix, what you should keep, and how you should iterate it next time. So I think what do you have to take into account when you implement the design service? I think you have to pilot it, prototype it first, and make sure you invited everybody to design it with you. Don't forget every BU. Not be one of. And another reason is that you want them to be the advocates of your new service also, right? So you want to have your new team, you want them to be happy with the launchings of these new ideas of this new service, and you want them to be part of the team. So invite everybody and test it first, and then evaluate it, and don't stop. I think that's what you have to take into account, what user like.
Maybe a question
so cute.
From, we will ask you that question in a minute. When you talk service, and I'm from a hospitality and a service background, aviation, can we always please all customers, or should we also have a certain amount of, let's say, it's okay when you reach your 95% of your customer, because you can't please them all, and you can't, you have to focus on, let's say, the majority? Or do you say, no, Hans, it's always 100% objective and you need to get all your customers happy?
That's a good question, because if you always want to get everybody happy, right? But I think in the real world it's impossible. So for me, I think you have to make sure that you have the loyalty is happy. Those that constantly using your service, they keep using it and they're telling other people, and these other people are happy. It's sometimes that the customers are not happy is not because of you, but because they are not fit. They are not your persona. That could be. So for me, I would say, like, you have to have your persona very clear and make sure you please them. So then how do you make a persona? So you have to interview people and make sure you interview the extreme user, because this extreme user, they already hacked the system some way. So if you learn from them, you can then, oh, okay, then maybe if I use this trick and trip from these groups of people, then I can implement it widely so other people could benefit from it too. So I say, do not have to please anybody, and you do not have to please everyone, just please your persona, and make sure you keep them close. Is it co-creation?
Yeah, I think that is also partly replying to the question, and I know my colleague from Techie is asking you about, let's say, the recommendations you have for us as an organization we are in a service industry, we are a member-based association. I think our number of personas are probably more than the required 4 to 8 you recommend. I guess we have a variety of members with different needs and different, let's say, challenges or different requests. But yeah, we are in a process also for next year, just to share with the audience. Next year, we will have a questionnaire being launched to all our members, where we will ask some in-depth questions of the needs and the customers. So I think the service design process would be something we can embrace also as a membership association, and how we can indeed, like Patty say, further improve on our services and further listening to the needs and getting this, yeah, you call it customer-centric, I call it member-focused, let's say, services. But from your observation, what is a recommendation you would like to share with us and the audience?
I'm familiar with NTCC, and because I worked with the TMA before, Thailand Management Association. I think that's kind of the same thing. You help the entrepreneur with businesses and things like that. And I was talking to them. I said, like, we were also trying to work on the persona together. They have this big company with a lot of, like, this higher number. They always differentiate personas like that. The revenues of the company, that's how they differentiate persona. But for me, I think maybe they could look at different ways, like, what are the needs of the company, like, what can they do for this company? Maybe this company, they would like to have the information. This company would like to have a consultancy. This company would like to have you could act as the platform so that they could meet other company, I don't know. So I think it's not really, it's also, okay, the revenues of the company is important, but also the needs of the company is important. And I think when I talk with Thailand Management Association, because I did a bit of research already, they talk, but they didn't really understand. I think because they are already, for example, the marketing team, they work for a long time in this company. They think they know their customers or they know their member already, but they stop asking them. And maybe the need changes all the time because of the behavior change, and especially this COVID pandemic, everything changed. Maybe you could provide new service for them. But yeah, so I would say, because I have not talked to a lot of members of the NTCC, so I use the case of the TMB instead. So I think co-creations could, but I think a deep interview could be, maybe you try to do a persona, you can do the assumption persona first. You set up first, and then you verify it again by talking to them. Is this exactly what they need? Is this their pain for real? That will shorten the period of research, and then maybe get closer to the point. But I know you guys talk to your member often. And yeah, I guess.
Engage indeed, and we do that through webinars. And this webinar was again very insightful. So thank you, Ms Kwan, for sharing your knowledge. And I'm sure we can talk for hours with you. And I'm sure next we will invite you again, perhaps on zooming in on a specific topic. So thank you very much, Ms Kwan. Digital flowers from the NTCC. I would like to say also thanks, of course, to the audience. Thank you all for participating again today. I hope this was learningful and also exciting, like our exciting presenters. So thank you very much again. I would like to wish you, of course, all and your family happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and of course a great start into a 2021, a new decade. I'm sure a lot of people are happy that 2020 is over, but then again, it's also a very learningful and eventful year. So we probably have to pick up the good pieces of it and make use in 2021 of that. I wish you all good health, of course, more important. And please mark your diaries. We have the upcoming NTCC Cafe, our monthly Monday cafe on 4th of January, which this year will be at the Hangover. And of course, we will serve the typical Dutch oliebollen. So Kwan, if you happen to be in town, you're more than welcome as well. And last but certainly not least, on the 21st of January, which will be a combination of an SME fair. So all our corporate members will be asked if they would like to join us for an SME fair. You can then present your services, your products, your needs to, let's say, the other community members. We will combine that with our New Year cocktail, and this also will be celebrating our 30th anniversary. So we have something to celebrate, and we do that together with our friends from the NVT and also from the MKB, Stichting Thailand Zakelijk. So 21st of January will be a big, huge party next to the river at the Ramada Riverside Hotel. For now, I wish you all a very nice evening. Again, happy holidays, and thank you all for zooming in, and hope to see you again next year. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Ms Kwan. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mark. Bye.